In this video, we'll be going through the proposed maintenance workflow inside of the JPS install application. So here I have a sample division set up with some preloaded data, and I'm going to take you through the different scenarios of performing maintenance against these assets. So I'm going to zoom in a little more so that the clusters turn off. You can also, if you go to the settings button here, you can turn off the clustering, and that might make it easier to see all of the pins at once. So the way the pins are laid out, the green pins represent fixtures which have been converted to LED and Smart Node already. The blue pins indicate that it's not yet been converted to LED and Smart Node, so this is an HPS. And then the black pins indicate that there's some sort of an outage that's being reported either by SLV or by a customer call-in. Okay, so we'll start with an unconverted light. So we'll zoom in and select one. So when I tap on the pin, I get a card with some information, and at the top of that card will display the pole number, the known pole number for this location. Now, for a lot of the old poles that haven't yet been converted, in the case where you see a series of X's, it means that we don't know what the old pole number is. Okay, and some of these, well, several of them are that way, but some you can see here, for example, does have an existing pole number. So and this should match up to what you see physically on the pole to help confirm that you're at the right location. So once you've confirmed you're at the right location, and of course with GPS on and out in the field, you'll actually see a blue dot that represents your location. So that'll also help in aiding in ensuring that you're at the right location. So beneath the pole number is some information regarding the fixture. So this one is an HPS bulb, 100 watt, and currently has a photocell installed. The conversion status is unconverted. So to go in and perform maintenance on this fixture, we tap the Start Workflow button. So when I tap the Start Workflow button, a form appears with all of the information that's relevant for this fixture. Now, since we don't have any outage data or this fixture wasn't brought to our attention through a customer call-in, none of these options are going to be shown by default, so everything will be hidden. All right, so the next thing we'll do is scroll down to begin our workflow. So we'll indicate that we're able to proceed with a visual inspection or not. And first off, we'll start with the no. So if we're unable to proceed after our visual inspection, we'll indicate that, and then a series of questions appear. So we need to indicate why we couldn't proceed. So when you tap that, a drop-down box appears, and you can select all the options that are valid for why you couldn't proceed to perform maintenance or conversion on this light. All right, you're then prompted to take a photo of the issue that's causing you to, or preventing you from doing the conversion. So you'll need to add the image, and then once you're done with this, you'll need to mark this as a follow-up required, and then at the top mark this as save. All right, and if there's any fields that you've forgotten that are required, you'll get a prompt as you see here. So you can see that I've forgotten or neglected to take a photo, so I would have to go back in and take a photo before I could proceed to save this record. Okay, so let's go find another one now and go through another example. So let's take a look at this outage right here. So outages again are represented by black pins, and you can always do a filter. So let me slide this down. So you can filter out your pins on the map screen by going to this little filter icon and then choosing conversion status, and then you can select the conversion status that you want to see. So if I deselect all and then just mark the ones that I'm interested in, so say I want to see only the customer call-ins or the customer reported outages, I'm going to mark this and then just hit the back button, and then in the top right I'm going to tap Apply Filters. And so now I could see that there are 2 customer reported outages on the map. And I can either go to the list view to view that information in a list sequence, or I can just go directly from the map view. So let's work this one outage here in the center of the screen. So when I tap the pin, I get the card that pops up again. And this one is actually an outage of an HPS. So the bulb may have gone bad, or the fixture may have burnt out or something. But we know it's a customer call-in because of the conversion status. So it wouldn't make sense to do a device control, because we know that there's only a photo cell on this light. So no need to try to perform a device control. So let's go ahead and go right into the workflow. And when I open up an outage based fixture, if it was generated based on a customer call-in, we'll see the information related to the customer call-in, such as the contact information, phone number, email if they've provided it, and then the problem that was reported through the portal, and then any comments that were provided. So we can see that this is an outage, and the customer reported that the light doesn't come on at nighttime. Okay, so that gives us some information to start diagnosing the problem and maybe perform a conversion on this light. So let's do that. Let's go through the different workflows now as it pertains to this particular fixture. So down here, I'm going to indicate that I am able to proceed. So I'm going to tap the yes button, and then a series of boxes appear that are providing some additional information. So here, these are read-only fields. So we could see that the existing pole number, in accordance to the system, isn't known. So we know that the existing lamp wattage is 100 watts, and that there's a photo cell on this fixture. All right, and again, these are read-only, so you can't change these fields right here. This is just for reference. Beneath that, we have the option, or we have a workflow selector. So since we're dealing with an HPS, the most likely scenario is that we're going to convert this HPS into an LED with a smart controller. So I'm going to choose conversion, and when I choose that, I get a series of fields that I need to complete before I can tap the save button. So the first thing I need to do is select the crew user ID. So this will be pre-populated with all the user IDs, and you select who you are. So I'm going to select my name, and then scroll down, and then I'll start to complete these fields. So I'll scan the serial number of the lamp that's being placed on this fixture or on this pole. I'll also take a photo of the lamp serial number. I'll scan the controller ID, the QR code for the controller ID, take a photo of it, and then also scan the MAC address for the controller, and then take a photo. I'll then proceed down the form, fill out the old pole number, HPS wattage. I'll confirm, if I don't see a pole number on here, I can leave this blank, or I can just enter some information to indicate that there's no pole number existing. I'll confirm the wattage that was on this pole when I got there. So if it's not 100 watts, go ahead and put something that is valid. I'll indicate whether or not the HPS light was functional when I arrived. So let's say that the customer call-in was accurate, and that the light wasn't functional, so I'll mark that as no. Here we'll select the condition of the light. So we'll say that maybe there's maybe it needs a rewire and the pole is leaning, so I'll mark those two options and then hit the back button. Next, we'll select the pole type. So it's a wooden pole, and then we'll select the feed type. So generally this is going to be overhead. The pole shape, so this refers to the number of fixtures on that pole. So let's say there's just a single fixture on that pole. And then the street name, so what street is this light illuminating? So let's just say it's Main Street. And then here you want to select the date that you're doing the conversion. So the selector here will default to the current day, so select that. And then scroll down and select the type of LED fixture that you're installing at this location. So let's say it's an LED roadway 58 watt fixture. Next, the mast arm length, let's say it's 4. And then I need to affix a new pole number to the pole, take a photo of it, and then I'll need to add or indicate what the new pole number is. Okay, so just this is a 7-digit code, or the 7-digit number that you've now stenciled onto the pole, so just add that in, and be sure to add any preceding zeros that are in the stencil. Next, take a photo of the fixture, add any comments that you feel are necessary, and then mark this as converted. And when you've done that, tap the Save button. And again, if you've skipped any required fields, the app is going to stop you. It's going to let you know that you've skipped something and require you to go back and fill those out before you can proceed through the Save button. Okay, so that is a conversion. Now let's clear our filter and look at another type of outage. So now we'll take a look at an outage that was derived from SLV. And this is created when SLV is unable to communicate with a node for whatever reason. So if you tap on one of these pins here, you can see in the card that is an SLV outage, and that this one has already been converted into an LED with a smart node. So first thing you'll want to do when you arrive at this location is try to communicate with the device, try to perform device control. So if you tap device control, then up at the top you get a little banner that says that request has been sent to SLV. So if it's able to communicate with that device, then the light should turn on within a minute or two. If the light does not come on, then you can go ahead and proceed into the workflow. So to do that, just tap Start Workflow. And here you'll see the information gathered by SLV during the outage. So we can see that this is a communication failure and a power supply failure. It was last updated February 6th. It's been 42 days since the failure occurred. Prior to that, it was burning for 537 hours. So just some good information for troubleshooting and diagnosing the problem. Next thing you'll do is scroll down. Again, you'll indicate whether or not you're able to proceed based on your visual inspection. So here we'll say yes. Next, we see the existing attributes for this fixture. We know it's an LED. Here's the new pole number, the type of fixture and the wattage of it that's installed, the lamp serial number, and then the controller information such as the ID and the MAC address. So next we'll select the workflow or the action that we're going to take to try and resolve this outage. So generally the first thing we'll do is try to reset the smart controller. So choose Reset Smart Controller, and then here we want to indicate the user ID again. So I'm just going to choose my name, and then it gives some instructions to reset the smart controller and then wait for 60 seconds. So meaning take the node out of the socket, put it back in, wait for 60 seconds for it to reboot, and then regain power. And then once you've done that, you'll mark that you have reset the controller. Then you're given an instruction to tap the Save button and then turn on the light from the card view. So we'll go ahead and do that. Tap Save. And then we'll open up the card of the light that we were just working on, and we'll go ahead and tap the device control button. So again, the request is sent to SLV, and wait for about 2 minutes to see if that light comes on. If the light comes on, there's nothing further you need to do. The conversion status has already been set to converted, and you can move on. If the light does not come on, go back into the workflow. Underneath the metering data section, if you tap the Show button, if SLV was able to communicate with the node and get some information, then you'll see it displayed here. If it wasn't able to communicate at all, then you'll see blank fields here. So next we scroll down back to our workflow section, and you can see that after we've been given the instruction to save and turn on the light on, it asks us if the communication was successful or not. So if the communication was successful, we'll tap yes, and then you can see we're told to set the status to repaired and then tap Save. If we select no, then we're instructed to replace the smart controller. So in this case, we would take the existing controller off of the fixture, scan the controller ID if we're able to, scan the MAC address if we're able to, indicate the replacement date, and then for the new controller, we're going to go ahead and scan the controller ID, take a photo of the controller ID QR code, We'll then scan the MAC address and also take a photo of that MAC address here, and then install that on the fixture. And then once we've done that, we then set the status to repaired and then tap save. Okay, so we would just come down here, tap repaired, tap save, and then you can proceed on. Now we'll go in and look at the remaining workflows. So in the course of troubleshooting, if you determine that you need to replace the LED light, that the smart controller is okay, but the LED light is malfunctioning, you would then select replace LED light. And here you would select your user ID, and then you would scan the existing lamp serial number of the old fixture that you're removing, indicate the replacement date, and then scan the serial number of the new lamp that you're installing, and then also take a photo of that serial number before you tap the save button. Right, if you have to replace just a smart controller, as in the last example, you scan the existing controller ID and MAC address, and then you would scan the new controller ID and the new MAC address, and then take photos of those QR codes, and then tap save. If you determine that both the LED fixture and the smart controller need to be replaced, select this workflow, and then fill out this form scanning the existing lamp, controller ID, and MAC address if those elements are available. Indicate your replacement date, and then beneath that scan all of the new QR codes for the lamp, the controller ID, and the MAC address. Be sure to take photos of each of those QR codes as well as you proceed. And then once you've done that, tap the repaired button and then tap save. In the event that a pole needs to be removed permanently from the system, you would select the decommission light workflow. You'd select your crew user ID. If there is an existing fixture in a smart node to scan, go ahead and scan those, and then mark the status as decommissioned, and then tap save.